Oh, I am Ghaleon and starting the first session for the 2015. And as I said in my blog and last session of previous year, I'm going to simplify my sessions a little bit. So for first, let's delete these 50/50s and 6 max. I'm going to leave here, but not going to play those at this point. So there it is. Let's put it to 25 tables. I think playing even like 40 tables with only these two formats would be quite similar to what sessions I played in previous year. mostly because it's just so much simpler to play only two formats which are full table both. So we can also edit this PokerStars lobby 10 only show full ring. Does it then show the, well, yeah, I can change it here. From 9 to 18. And can also I have thought to maybe add also $15 games, because getting volume with only $30 plus with those two formats might be tricky. And also we can remove them 50/50. But let's see how the volume starts to add up. Yeah, I think on the 2014 I might have been a bit too optimistic to add the 50/50, which I hadn't studied that much. So I'm going to now try and see how this goes. If I play just two formats. Let's add the 15 as well. I'm not sure if reaching Supernova Elite again this year is like reasonable with this sort of sessions, because volume is going to be much tougher to achieve. I think I can pretty much leave with no table selection. We can try to add something like, if there's like 6 Rakes, it would be like -12. Put something like -10 here. Won't take the most worst games. And I actually, a moment ago before I started this recording, I calculated what sort of rake back I'm going to achieve this year if I renew the Supernova Elite. In other words, get 1 million VPP again. And here are the stellar rewards and all the milestones. And 10-50 times the 100,000 FPP point gas bonus, which comes from the 5 million FPP I'm going to make if reaching 1 million again, and it totals add up to 124,400, and acquiring Supernova Elite requires this sort of amount in Rake dollars, so from this we get 68.42%, and this is smaller than it would have been in 2014 because there's no that 5.2k dollars tournament ticket packet anymore. But if I calculated this correctly, this should be the correct breakback percent with the exact 1 million VPP throughout the year. I'm not going to raise my head on that this is 100% correct. Might have done some mistake at some point. But anyway, we now have 3 games running, 13 games registering. I might be and probably will add 6 max games at some point, but going to use bit more table selection. Not sure if what sort of settings I have now. This is what I was using on the end of the year in previous year. So basically, if there was 4 Rakes and someone unknown or PC player, I was registering here, but not in 5 Rakes game. But if I want to go in, like, let's say, game with maximum 3 Rakes, it would require like basically to add this to -6. Or actually now will still register. Something like that. And well, so far registering speed has been decent, 8 games in 5 minutes. Of course this is evening time, almost 9 PM now, so it should be pretty active time during the day. And I have the $15 games, which of course are not that good rake resources, but I just thought adding those because I'm pretty sure the overall table skill level is probably quite a bit lower compared to mid and high stake games, I'm assuming, but of course I haven't played $15 games like, well, it's probably quite much, might be even close to 2 years, and I have previously played these in my normal sessions, so I'm not sure if what sort of games these are these days. But we will see. And actually increase this much more and then recheck if the actual playing table amount is going to be high enough. So just thought to make this recording to go through a bit of my plan for this year. So the main themes are going to be to simplify the game, focus on the 9 and 18 men's for now, and study these more. There I just solved because if I make, well, I could make like very small for pet or flat. Of course, good side of flatting would be to keep his 3-betting range completely on the play. So yeah, I think like playing 30 tables with this with just 2 formats should be relatively easy for me, or manageable at least, compared to last year when I had the 4 different formats and the 50s were quite a bit different from the other formats, and also the 6 max makes it tougher because simply the hand amount is much higher compared to full ring games. And at some point I might also consider adding some MTT games on my sessions. Last year was not like perfect from 6 max either, but I think overall with decent table selection I can still play those pretty profitably. It's just the end of the year when I basically had no or barely any table selection. Bit nasty flop pot here on the 5 kings. I'm actually going to just fold. Just check fold here. It's just so likely that he has something better with the pre-flop being 4-bet pot and so on. Ace high. Here with king 8 I could also have just check fold the flop, but there's still decent possibility that he would fold something. That it gets okay to bet like half pot. And here I'm just going to flat the flop. Keep the villain range as wide as possible. It's not like great spot to stack off either overall by raise calling. I'm going to take the short keys or keyboard on the use. A bit quicker and easier that way. And there I'm planning to call. I don't have much of a sample. He could have something pretty fishy. I think there is value in shoving the river. Of course he can have like queens or king queen, but or possibly sevens, but I think there's still value to shove versus pretty unknown hill line. So 20 tables now, so at least with the $15 games it's pretty nice. Easily getting these sort of nice table amounts. So I just thought, even with these $15 games, they are a bit smaller, but they might still be profitable idea to add in my sessions, because I would presume they are much softer. I'm trying to stab here. Of course he can have some ace-x, but if he has some pockets, I think that he's going to fold to single stab quite often. This time he had the ace. And of course I had the gut shot here also, which is nice overall. And king and jack if he happens to have 10x and calls. Here pretty easy call with ace king suited. No sample on the open razor. I think I'm just going to flat. Raise 3-betting would be reasonable also, as the flat caller seemed to be pretty fishy. Of course he only had like 4 hands on him, but anyway. No hit, so let's quickly escape. Ace 9, pretty standard defend versus min raise. A bit nasty when he pots it. I think I can still call with the implied odds. It's quite close overall though. And 2 overcards on the flop, so let's try to bluff the river, and we don't hit anything. I think there's quite a decent chance that he will fold like 7x, 6x. Not 8 this time. I think we can limit a little bit our table amount. Now that the tables have breached over 20. Decided this year to keep my VIP status and the 1 million marked here visible. Maybe it affects recreational players. I think one fellow player had a little test on that, and he did reach better success rate on c-bet success. But versus regulars, I don't think that it really matters at all, whatever those are visible or not. And I think here I'm just going to solve this when he overbets. I think I'm betting call pretty often, by one of them at least, or not. And here on the river, I think it's reasonable to check call if he has missed flush draw or some straight draw. He might be bluffing, and it's pretty close with the ace blocker. But shoving Well, we might get some queen X still to call third barrel versus recreational player. I think both options are okay. And here with 20 PP or a bit more, I'm not very happy about this situation. I think I'm still going to go with it. Yeah, he had the nines. Yeah. That's something I should be checking because I have had this Hold'em Manager crashes quite a bit recently. And it's pretty annoying. Especially as it sometimes manages to freeze here on startup. Hopefully it doesn't do that now. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't start this loading hand process. It just stops on the loading tournament. Here reading on the bottom status that loading tournament and nothing happens. You just have to force the whole software down and restart and pray for better success, so to speak. Here pocket 8, I'm just going to fold. Can't really set mine and from that position versus utility raise, it's not going to be profitable to play. So just talk to make a little small session now and record it. Probably not going to be that long. Here we hit the pair. Again versus very small raise, I'm pretty happy to defend with a7. Of course we have no info on him. And here I don't think there's that much value in betting myself. It's better to give him the possibility to bet. Of course he might play some overpair like that, or maybe very unlikely weak straight that he then bets the river, but I don't think I'm going to get called by Wars if I bet myself, and he still might try to bluff on that sort of scary looking board. Okay, H, let's ISO raise. So one of the things on the start of the year I'm curious about is the VPP production I can achieve with these games. And pretty no point to see bet really on that flop. Trying to get to cheap showdown. When he bets the 150, I might still have the best hand some portion of time, and I have the open ender. So I think it's fine to call the turn, but when he fires again on the river, just going to fold. If he had bet a little bit bigger the turn, I would have just folded probably. So King Jack, we didn't hit anything at all. Just fold. Even if we hit heart of jack or king, it might be somewhat tricky if it's good or not. And here very fishy looking open. Of course it might be some strong hands sometimes, but more often I would assume it to be a mediocre hand. He's not going to fold. Ace king this time. And those $15 games probably have quite a few Rakes. I don't have any info if they haven't played the bigger ones. Here, blind versus blind, I'm going to call with the king queen. It can be best hand sometimes, and it can improve with quite many cards. Now it didn't happen, and I think that is quite bad spot to try to bluff. We have some showdown value, not that much, but still some. If the flush draw would have completed on the river, then I would have bet bluffed with my straight draw. But when the 10 pairs and so on, it's quite tough to get. Quite tough to get anything, or much of the better hands to fold. So with this, if I can play mostly with these 9-man and 18-man throughout this year, I think there's pretty good chance to achieve positive result pre-rake back. And if I'm able to get the renew the Supernova Elite again, I think it's pretty nice combination. Or result wise, it's pretty nice. Previous year was not that great overall because, well, one thing was the too optimistic adding of 50-50 and not studying it enough, and also running pretty badly below EV was not nice either. Still made some profit, but not like I could be happy result wise. Of course, I were pretty happy about reaching the Supernova Elite. So I had doubts during the journey, but still managed to do it in the end. Here he bets very small. I think I'm going to call. And when he checks and the ace hits, the easy value bet. I don't like to raise that often those small donk bets with air type hand because the problem is in that sort of decently drawy board that I doubt about having much of fold equity in raise. And here I'm going to Continue betting. And if he has the plus, then he has it. And probably good idea with those $50, $15 games would be to add it so that it would not register into those after the table amount is over a certain number, maybe like 15 or 20 tables. 20 might be good, so that if there are bigger tables that it can be registering, it would not register those $15 ones. And of course here the line goes for kind of a stop and go play, so we are never folding with anything. And here pretty easy call with basically anything I open. Pretty much only thing we can fold in such spots would be like some weak ace we are raising as a blocker steal, but otherwise I don't see that folding would be good like ever. Here I'm just going to check. It's pretty nasty because we don't have any sample on the wheel line, but we don't have really that much value in betting, and King Jack is decently often going to be the best hand. And I was planning to call at least once if the wheel line had bet. That should have been open. So a bit more tables now than I planned to have, but should be starting to drop at some point. Pocket kings. Well, I'm just going to 3-bet. And here with the King Jack I can go for multiple street bluff if necessary. Well, he goes for check raise. I think I'm just going to keep up. When I open from a very early position, it's quite rare that the line would go for bluff here, I think. And here I'm just going to check call. It's kind of an interesting spot if he continues to bet. He can have some draws in here and so on, and he's repping quite thin, because I somewhat doubt he would be betting with like pocket sevens or eights necessarily. He might have some small pocket that died because of the second pair coming, so it increases the bluff amount a little bit. And here we got into the mummies. And here ace queen, I somewhat doubt villain would be making play like that with king, so it's pretty easy call. Of course he can sometimes have the king, but it should be very rare, because usually villain would like to give me a little more opportunity to put the chips in. And here I think gold c betting and checking back are okay. Both has good and bad sides in them. Ace 5. Kind of a weird looking stats on the villain, as he had been very passive. I'm going to pre-steal with the king 6 suited. Offsuit I would have just probably folded with those stacks. Villain seems pretty active, so I think re-stealing here makes sense. So it can be somewhat thin. And here I value bet the turned ace, mostly with plan to check back the river if villain checks, and if he goes for raise here and turn, I think it's pretty often that he has the trips, or better than that. Not always, but pretty often. And ace 10 is obviously a nut here. It seems like this Joseph is probably some sort of regular in these games. Seems to be on the multiple tables, or at least couple tables. Well, that is pretty. I would prefer to just open shove in his choose. Not really a hand you want to. Not really a hand you want to induce. And here, unfortunately, not improving, so I think I'm checking the river is best overall. Here with king high, with no heart, I prefer to bet and try to take the pot down. Ace 9, pretty close one with this very passive and tight looking villain. I think I'm going to just throw it away. And here it's pretty scary when he 3-bets like that, but he also has such a small stack that I'm not planning to fold. If he had shoved, I would have called, so it doesn't really I don't put that much like reach or respect to that smaller race size, but there are people who are using that sort of kind of a tricky plays with pretty much only with monsters. So there he 3x I should have just folded it. Versus min race it would have been very standard. Very standard open or this call I mean. And here with pretty low showdown value, it's reasonable to bet the flop. Here the loose Rake, I think he's going to have such a wide range that King Queen is pretty clear. Clear call. Or at least should be with 6 pp or a little less from the cutoff. And here I think I'm going to go for a small value bet. Pretty nasty ace high flop once again. But if I check, he often going to check most of weaker hands, so betting makes most sense. And then jack with those pot odds. Pretty easy call. And 9-10 I think I'm going to flat here with those pot odds and decently playing hand, and seems like the villains could be somewhat fishy. Quite bad flop there, 9-10. Should have bet the turn there in the heads up pot table. And here ace high is likely not going to fold, so usually really not that much point in betting. It's basically better to just check to showdown and use the hand possibly as a bluff catcher. Of course it sometimes ends in such a thing that villain hits his 3 to 6 outer. Going for thin value here. Not working this time. Like if he had C3x or weaker 4x or a high type of hand, he could have easily called. And ace queen, obviously raise calling. Pretty standard re-steal from villain. Of course he could also Also just flat if he wants. Going to flat here with my flush draw. And let's go and just bet the river when we hit this time. Check-in would have been okay also, because if Villain has a bluff, he might want to continue doing so. Yeah, seems like I can keep decent amount of tables at least this time of day, and having the $15 gains. But it's interesting to see how does the VPP production go. Well, he bets so small that I basically have to call the river. It would have been nasty if he had gone and solved the river, because he has been playing pretty passive. And here I'm going to semi-bluff the turn. We have the gutshot and this flush draw. And here planning to 3-bet stack off versus this pretty loose looking Rake. And here I'm just going to solve when he 3x the flop here. When he opens 3x, it's often a mark that he's going to call anyway, even if he doesn't have that great of a hand. Kind of a reason why I'm very hesitant to actually make re-steals versus those open sizes. So when he opens 3x, he's going to get very value heavy range shoving on him, which of course makes his bet call pretty bad. And here on the bottom table, with PP being so short, I think win raising in unopened pot is going to be the optimal line. It does open little bit room for the small blind Rake, but I think he's going to be relatively value heavy with the PP basically probably calling always, so it should be pretty small risk overall. Of course he could have some like Jack 10 suited type of hand in his shoving range still. And here active looking villain, so let's call. Yeah, probably I should I don't know, maybe I should create a new database and import some hands from the previous year and check if it affects the hold'em manager stability, or try to do some maintenance to database or something like that. Well, let's fold. And here, pretty standard call on the turn when we check the flop. And here, with these stacks, I kind of prefer to just shove over his 3-bet. And here it's a bit ugly if he bets third time, but when I take this sort of line that I check call from the flop, I think he might be making the third barrel decently often, and no flush draw did not hit and so on. So, but it's great, not a great spot to be in anyway. But I think still that check call line here with the top pair, basically no kicker, is pretty okay overall. And here I'm going to just c-bet and stack off if they want. So Jack 10 suited is actually somewhat thin shoved here. Interesting shove. Just a king high no draw basically. Versus me when I'm c-betting in 3-way pot. Well, I don't mind at all. And here this Rake is once again min raising. I'm just going to shove on him. Of course it can be a trap, but with decent hand like that and such high ICM side, I prefer that line. Folding is definitely too weak, and flatting is one option. But when we flat in that sort of spot, it's kind of a situation that you should be pretty reluctant to fold that easily post flop if you hit decently, even if it's a bubble situation. I could have just open shoved that 10-9 suited also, but decided to try min raising with the small blind. So small blind seeming so tight. And we can basically min raise any two on his big blind. And now let's hope the big blind shoves again, not this time. Oh, that smallish value bet here, and unfortunately he had nothing. Pocket fives, he has been so tight that I think I'm going to fold the fives, but it's pretty close overall. Like sevens I would have definitely called. Here I could have started to bluff the flop, but decided to just check and hope for free showdown. It's decent spot for me to bluff because king jack, or was it king 10 anyway, flop like that hits quite nicely on like standard sort of defending ranges. Villains probably assume to have more often. Here it's a bit ugly when he makes it so small, but I think I'm still pretty much have to go with my hand. It's such strong hand from those positions. But I would have been much more happy overall to see a shove. I think I'm going to stop the registration like in 15, after 15 minutes or so. Here on the bubble we have quite nice spot to apply ICM pressure. That one burn up is kind of a question mark here. He seems most like a recreational player from these wheel lines, but of course with that sort of monster hands it's pretty easy. Easy spot to just keep showing. Here I think I have pretty often the best hand when wheel line checks the flop. Of course he might sometimes be trapping with something, but and I check the freeware because it's quite tough. Well, some 9x might be calling, maybe ace x, but I'm pretty happy with that sized pot already with my not that great and here I'm just going to shove. I think he's going to fold extremely often, and it's not like the worst possible hand either. And here with these stacks, no sense to min raise. Unfortunately he wakes up with the monster, but this time we suck out. And here on the 18 man I'm going to solve this one burn-ups. It's probably going to be tight enough. And again running into monster. It's kind of ugly when you keep running into those in such. Like here with the smallest stack on the big blind, I prefer to fold hand like that. Of course we still have a decent amount of fold equity versus him, but I don't mind to show that I'm folding at some times also. But if it had been like Jack 5 suited, I would have shoved anyway. And I'm just going to check and hope he, because I doubt he really have much at all here. Yeah, queen high. So no way I could get value by betting myself. Most likely. I'm just going to shove the ace 8 suited. I don't love it, but it's just too good of a hand to fold either. And flatting in that with those stacks would have been quite awkward in my opinion. And here I go for small value bet and hope he calls with some 2 pairs or maybe even like top pair sometimes. And if he had shoved I would have still called, hoping he doesn't have the bigger straight. But yeah, now the 2015 have been started with own session as well. Wanted to keep a small vacation and probably not going to start the gaming that active yet, but just wanted to test the waters in these by playing just these 9 men and 18 men. Here with such so many players in the pot, I like to call with that hand. That was pretty unlucky. Second stack wakes up with the aces. Always in a nasty situation when you are on the wrong side of the setup. Well, now I seem to be on the right side. I'm just hoping that we don't get screwed, so to speak. Just try to stab there. I could have also just folded the turn. Yeah, he had the weak ace here. Here is another table. We are in great situation overall. I think the queen high still. We have some fold equity. Some fold equity here. And 7 easy call. Funny play by the villain. Tough to say what he's thinking of here. Like if he wants to continue, I would see calling much better overall. Here it was obviously easy solve with that stack setup. And will I call with ace-10? It's okay, I think, but it's quite thin overall because the stack difference was so clear compared to him and the other small stack. Yeah, I'm going to post the registration now, and I should have solved that also, because the B-boop in the UTC has such small stack. And here he should be very tight in his calling range, so it's going to show profit to solve that. I would not go for any 2 here, but still that is good enough. And with king deuce suited versus basically a random hand, it should be fine. Yeah, now the all games are running. Here with the stack setup being so even, I'm not going to solve such crap. Total crap hand. 7-8 suited is definitely good enough. Especially with blinds increasing. Here I'm going to shove, I don't mind really if the short stack wins. And I get very good pot odds anyway. It's just a way to keep the bubble on. And if he folds, I can easily solve any two. Lot of outs, but no hit. And here I'm going to solve the upper big stack tier should be very tight because the bubble is so close and there are so many smaller stacks. So in that spot I can put pretty heavy ICM pressure on those middle stacks especially. And here with ace jack I'm just going to give up. The line range is going to be pretty strong here, calling from UTG +1, and I basically have barely anything on that board. Here I think there's merit to go for a raise with the pretty strong 2-pair combo. And here with the small stack on the bottom, it's any two sub. And yeah, he stacks off. Lucky turn for me. But if I would not have improved here, I would have just called the turn. Time bank's going a little low once again. Maybe I underestimated the requirement for multi-tabling these a little bit. But might be also a bit rusty, and when you are commenting at the same time you play, it's of course a little bit different situation overall into compared to normal sessions. And here I continue to call. If he bets again, I don't think there's value in raising pretty Rake or somewhat Rake looking villain. And here with total crap, I think I'm just going to fold. And here, I think the big blind seems so passive that I can go away with min-raise folding against him. But my standard line definitely with that hand would be to open shove. And of course calling such a small plate. Yeah, 5-6. Awesome hand. Not really a hand villain should be defending here on the bubble situation. Nasty River. And here versus Lambonali, I'm just going to solve over his min raise. He's going to min raise so wide here. His folding frequency will be extremely high, from my experience. I mean, it might be profitable to solve even close to any tooth here, but I'm not going to make a huge risk with moves like that in such stack distribution. But definitely decently hand should be solved, even if it's a bit risky. And there are basically multiple reasons, because of course one, that it's profitable in itself, but also to make his life a little bit tougher, that he can't just run over the table however he wants. Even here I think shoving is totally fine. We can also marking hands is often, I could have also min raised here. Marking hands is always a good idea. And here, well, Villain is very passive so far, so I think I'm just going to fold, but if he had been a little bit more active, I would have defended for sure. Yeah, he seems to be pretty 3-bet happy regular, so white min races might not be such a great idea. Queen 7 suited, I think it's somewhat close here. I don't really mind to call either. King 10 is obviously snap call if he shoves again. Or if he min raises, I'm just going to shove over his raise. And here, if this villain 3x folds, it's pretty awesome result, so I'm just going to solve the pocket trees here. Unfortunately running into rockets. But yeah, I have a coaching reserved on the 20th of this month, if you're interested about public-private coaching. And here with such a even stacks, then queen is going to be okay to call. It's on the borderline, but I think it should be fine. Another spot to mark here. It's nice to have the marking on those. Just a one shortcut key makes it so much easier to, again, very borderline, very borderline hand. Yeah, makes much easier to mark those hands. No need to go through any sort of drop down menus or such. And king 6, pretty nice stack distribution with the medium stacks on the blinds. And running into monster. Nothing you can do to those. I open south the nines because I don't really want to induce in that spot, and Windrace folding would be too weak, or something I don't want to do with hand like that. I could try limping and see how he reacts to that. Here with 3-7, I think it's fine to shove. PPs should be very tight, and small blind also had decent reasons to still fold with the other stack also being so short. And here I don't think I have fold equity. Fold equity really is probably going to snap call with the 6x. 6x or any better. And here, yeah, it's easy call. Don't mind losing him. And ace-2 suited active villain, easy call. Especially with the antis also into play. And king queen snap call. Yeah. Quite a setup once again. Just going to min raise fold that queen 5. It's not overall such a horrible hand to be raise folding. Would prefer to limp with something that has bit more playability overall. And any king with that stack is nuts. Pretty trashy hands, so not that much I can do here. And here definitely min raise calling. I have been min raise folding mostly, so you might think I'm full of shit once again, so to speak. And here will line check raised on the raised my bet on the turn, so I'm just going to check call the river. Yeah, he has the practical nuts. I could have also just believe him on the turn and fold, but I think if I'm going to call his turn raise, then it's pretty standard to call the river as well. And here going for non all in. Basically just hoping that if multiple players go all in, I can still fold. No hit. Going for delayed c-bet here. I think when I check this flop on the thread, he's going to quite easily read it more as a showdown value. Maybe even more than when if I would have c-bet. So I like to mix it up sometimes. And here kind of a situation again that if I call, there's going to be just one side odd-sized bet behind. I think the best option is to just solve. Just solve over his pre-bet. And shoving the river. He can call with Jack X, Ace X. One nasty side of having this many buy-in limits on your session is that it's very tough to say how your session has gone, basically, because uh, it depends so much on how you actually happen to run in the bigger ones and so on. So it session might feel like you have won all the time, but then it might be that you have won on the smaller ones and not run good in bigger ones, and you're actually like very much on the minus. And of course it can go also other way around, running bad on the small ones and good in the big ones, and you're making huge profit, even if it doesn't feel like that. But of course, results should not really matter your game at all. But of course, it's often tough to stay absolutely neutral in your game. And flipping chair. Looking cool. Snap. And here 5 king is going to show profit versus him definitely. And I think it's best to shove because king 5 is not going to play good post flops, so it's most profitable to just shove and abuse his extremely wide open range and use the blocker value that way. He can also call with some of the worse hands, weaker hands, of course. Nice to get action with the aces. Here I can also flat, but I think I'm just going to shove versus him. Versus someone who would not be opening as much, I would prefer flatting, and sometimes also flatting versus him with the ace, caress, or such hands. Pretty nice flop here on my 7-8, having the open ender, and still port that I would assume to get decent amount of open equity on my c-bet. I'm just going to check, and if he checks now, I'm going to fire a small bet. When he bets small, problem is that he could have some jack x, king x, and I'm not sure if he's folding to shove. I'm going again with the d-late c-bet here. I could take easily with like 5x, 7x, sometimes with 10x. Line like that. And king jack with those defective stacks I think is pretty standard raise call without good heads up reads. So I have how many tables? 6 tables left. Win 6 I'm going to flat if he goes for raise. And here with such effective stacks, it's pretty standard open shove. Here I basically have two ways to play this if we see bets either calling or check raising with idea to stack off, and I think I'm just going to check raise here and shove turn, or if he shoves then going to call. Also one option would be to call the flop and look to check raise turn decent amount. One good side of that would be to allow him to barrel again with his air type of range. Pocket kings. Now would have been good time to shove. And queen 9, I think I'm going to flat again. Hand play is pretty nice, and it's quite an interesting flop here because I should not have that much ace x or king x. So I'm kind of on close to top of my range here. So it's quite tough to let down of this. The question is, would he be 3-barrel bluffing here or not? Well, I will call versus him because he just loves to multi-barrel bluff. But it's close. Actually, I'm quite a little bit surprised. Well, he did think that I don't have ace x or king x, or very rare in my range, so he went for thin value here. I think it was well played from him, and I don't mind my line either, but I like folding river would have been totally reasonable option. But it's often quite tricky spots in those situations when you know your will line likely know that your range is heavily capped, and of course I can have sometimes like some big pockets I'm trapping pre-flop, but still the range that I have doesn't really hit that well in that spot. And here when I open the queen jack, I'm actually folding to everyone but except Rikoch. Even if the Zoni would have shoved and I got a good pot odds, I think his range would still be a bit too tight when shoving in situation where he probably doesn't see that much fold equity. But then again, queen jack off is going to be like pretty close to bottom of my open raising range here. So it's not like that huge of a laydown if he shoves. But like queen jack suited, I would have definitely called versus him as well. 5 tables now. Over halfway of the first VIP Stellar reward. $10. So yeah, going to see in probably this week at some point at least, or at least the next week, that how well these games does bring the VPP points with like some normal 3 to 4 hour session. King jack suited. If he would have opened from button, I would be calling, but I think versus cutoff shove, it's going to be best just fold from small blind. At least from big blind it would be a lot closer. And queen 3, if it was unopened, I would have been shoving it. And pocket 2 sees. I don't like to shove it with 20 pp. Just going for min raise, though the situation overall is not like the greatest with the big blind, who seemed like he's probably quite call happy. And queen 8. I'm going to shove. And here is actually quite interesting situation when the Lampanali goes for small 3 bet. I'm going to shove here some portion of time. because the ranges are so wide, and I think he has reasonably wide 3-bet bluffing range overall in that spot. So it's okay in my opinion. Wasn't bluffing this time. But it's often with button versus blind dynamics with loose Rex that you have such decently good fold equity on your 4-bet solve that it's often going to be okay to solve. But not like I would be like every time in that spot. I would not solve over his 3-bet. But it's again those situations that if you are folding too much, then you are getting walled over basically. And if your opponents can see that you are going to fold way too, or like very often, it's just going to be so profitable for them to make small 3-bets with very high frequency. So it's not just the hand itself in vacuum that matters. When you are playing versus Rex, who are often in insane tables. And here, like King 2's, if villains would be tight, it would be totally fine to open, but in that spot it's definitely a fold. With active 3-betting villain and probably quite call happy another villain, so no point to really have such stress blocker hands. If there was like tight player on the big blind, then I think it would be reasonable to win raise fold the king 2's, because even if the small blind is 3-betting decent amount, it's still going to show profit when the big blind is going to be too tight. And here I chose to min raise with pocket fours. I'm going to call versus the blinds and fold versus these two. I think it's going to be somewhat better than open sub would be. And this is perfect flop for us basically. I'm just going to c-bet small here. Or well, I can just sub because my hand is still so fragile. Unfortunately, he had luck box the flop. It's pretty bad hand for him. King 6 off. Just tough to, like, even if you hit the king high flop with the like top pair, you still have the bad kicker. But of course, with those stacks, you are always going to stack off basically. Or if he like, it's pretty close whatever he should be folding, even if, well, he should be going broke, I think, even with like flopping bottom pair with 6, and if the flop is like jack 10 6 or something, he should still be going broke with it. And here 6 8 suited. I think I'm still going to fold. And here we are on the bubble. It's a big stack, but unfortunately he wakes up.
Would have been pretty perfect situation to give ICM pressure. Here it's just so high risk to shove here versus having the chip leader tier, and that king 9 off is going to be better just open folding. Three tables now. Let's put those all visible, at least if the last third table is not visible anymore. So let's move those a little bit. So here I can give a good pressure on this Jojo once again. Hopefully he doesn't wake up with big ace another time. And even here, if I get decent hand, I can shove on this big stack pretty wide. Because even if he has like 600 more, it would have been quite ugly with hand like I think he would have folded ace 9 because my range is still going to be relatively tight, and he has of course lot of ICM, or even if my range can be decently wide actually, but his ICM tax is just so high. I'm just going to min raise here. I think shoving is a bit too wide, but it's not great either for min raise, but I think reasonable. Okay, well the last game is normal speed, so if I drop from these two, I'm just going to end the recording. No point to show just one table. And here I'm min raising here with Jack 6 because these wheel lines might miss that I have such a small stack and fold more than they should. Of course, I'm basically always calling, at least if there's not like 4 or 5 all-ins or something like that. And running into big hand once again. So yeah, I'm just now going to end this recording, probably posting it at least in my blog. Not sure if it's going to be in Pokermania YouTube channel. But thanks for watching, and please give comments on my blog or in my YouTube channel if I put it here. Thanks for watching. Bye.